Shalom, brothers and sisters in the Lord. Praise the name of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, our God who is awesome every single day of our lives. I hope you're well, and I'm trusting that you have had a lovely Sunday morning or Sunday and a lovely weekend. Looking forward to Monday, starting of the week. I am looking forward to starting the week, actually. My week started today, Yom Rishon. So today we have an exciting sort of title, people frying snakes for food. And the reason why I used that title is because I was organizing books and paperwork and stuff in my house, in my room, and I found like in my bedroom, that's where all the books are. Most of the books are anyway, and papers. And I found this. This is not good lighting. Anyway, please, my voice, do not go anywhere. I need you. So I found this piece of paper with a kind of a drawings, like just lines of things. And it is a dream from, I've written in Swahili, asubuhi, which is morning. So asubuhi, Friday, the 27th of March, 2009, and it was a dream. And I've written in red, recession. So I think I was still in bed when I was writing this, because I sleep like this on my tummy. So I normally have books on either side of my bed and pens. So all I will do is pick up a piece of paper and pen and just scribble something. Mostly dreams or whatever the Lord gives me. So what I've written here is recession, joblessness, jobless masses. The first to be recalled were Catholics. They were given a uniform and an ID card. So IDs were being issued, and I saw a road that was winding through mountains all the way to Russia. An Eastern European man was standing with me, and he said, "The land to the north that shall be covered is a very large area." Like the piece of land will be a really huge area that will be covered. And so on the side of the street were people frying snakes for food. And those people, I always remember this dream because of the way they were dressed. They were dressed, the men were wearing like now that the Taliban is back on the world stage, those long trousers and a long sort of gown, we call them kanzu in Swahili, and those sort of safari-like jackets. And I'll never forget this because they had like barbecue stoves by the side of the road. So this road was really wide and long. It went all the way to Russia and beyond. And I live in England. So for me to actually, anyway, in the spirit, you can see whatever. But I knew where I was still where I've always been, like in London. But then I could see this road winding through the mountains. And so oh, Jesus. Okay, lighting is really bad here. So the road is winding through mountains on either side of the road. And then there are men, especially I always remember on the left side as I was going towards the north, were actually, so the western side was where majority of the men had these massive stoves and they were just frying snakes, and it was horrible. And then I followed some people in wedding dress, and they were lesbians. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the reason why I decided to title my message today as people frying snakes for food, because it is related to the end time days in which we are in, and which we are actually going to progressively we are in the end time days, but then it progresses to end of the end of the end, like zig zig, you know. I'm going to start reading from the book of. So actually, let's just try and dissect this dream for a second. But before we dissect the dream, let me just tell you how I dream. When I dream about, and I'll go back to when I was a child, when I was a little girl, maybe 4 years or 5, around there. I had a dream that always recurred, which was me on a ladder, and I kept, I would climb up. So I would always have, so our house faced the east, like the door, the front door of our house faced the east. And then you would get out here and go this way and then face the west to get out of the gate. But between our home, our like the plot where we lived and the next plot, so there was this like a wall, but it was made of iron sheets. So they just stood like iron sheets and put some posts. And it was a strongish wall, but not really, really strong. But then in my dream, there was always this ladder, which was leaning towards the east on this iron sheets sort of demarcation line. And I would climb up on this ladder alone. I was always alone, and I could see myself as a small girl. Even in the dream, I would see myself at the size for which I was, short little girl. And I would go up, 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 up. And then when I got really high, there was always an invisible force. I never ever saw who used to push the ladder, but someone would or something would push it backwards towards the west. And I would start falling towards like the front of our house. Or it was actually never like directly opposite our house. It was almost towards like the gate. But then I'm falling, and I knew this is cemented ground. So if I fell, I would sort of crack my head or something. So I used to wake up really, really frightened, screaming. And that was my recurrent dream. But I remember this particular dream that I had, that my Uncle George was coming. My Uncle George was my mom's brother. And for me to dream that he was coming, it was quite a dream, because I dreamt in the night and told my mom in the morning, and then a few hours later he showed up. Like he came out, not even a few hours later, maybe an hour or so later, but he lived maybe 500 kilometers away from home. So how it used to be in the early 70s when I was a child, um, they would get on the bus in Nairobi at 6 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening, and then they would journey all night, because the buses we were using back then, I think Leyland was the make of the buses we were using, and the speed limit wasn't that great. It's not like these days people just fly around and keep everybody on the road. Back then, there used to be very few road accidents on that road. So from Nairobi to Eldoret, which is like central province, all the way to the Rift Valley, past the Nakuru, Naivasha, into our city. And so my uncle would have been traveling while I was dreaming, and almost near Eldoret at the time at which I was dreaming towards morning. Since then, most of the dreams that I have dreamed have not needed interpretation, really. They have not. They have just been like facts. This is, you dreamt of a green door collapsing, that the neighbors, like you have 20 neighbors and the only neighbor with a green door, the door caved in, or the door broke down by itself and fall. That's exactly how my dreams used to be to be manifested or realized. There was a time I remember I dreamt there was this woman who had left me in her house, and I dreamt that she'd come back maybe a few days, because back then people kind of just leave you and say we're going for several weeks. They don't give you an exact date. So I'm guarding her house, and I woke up and I knew she's coming today, and yet I had not kept the house clean for that time. Like it was clean, like I was sleeping in their bed and whatever. I don't know. I don't remember whether I was sleeping in their bed. I can't remember whether I was sleeping at our house, and I don't remember exactly what was happening, but she had left me her house to take care of. And she actually came back that day. So I went to school. When I came back from school, because I was in day school, I found her. She had already come. So that is how my dream life has always been. Majority of my dreams, if I dream it is George Bush becoming president of the US, there's no interpretation. That's who is going to become the president of the US. And so when I dreamt this dream back in 2009, I took it literally. Literally. I'm not like Joseph, who would dream of stars bowing before him and he would know what they were, 11 stars and all the stuff. My dreams have always, on the whole, like maybe 90% or 95%, really high percentage of my dreams are like they are like literal. Maybe God has realized I don't know how to interpret dreams and I never really put in the work that is required to learn to interpret dreams, or he just thought, no bother, no need for you to learn to interpret dreams. Because interpretation, I'm a literature student, so interpretation, 20,000 interpretations can come out of one single text. So for me, I rely on, I dreamt with Cindy Jacobs talking to me about some writing. And then I go downstairs, from a hotel. I'm sleeping in my room upstairs. I go downstairs and then have breakfast. And then I go to the church. And actually, Cindy Jacobs addresses the writing that I was talking about. So, and I had seen her. She was wearing red shoes. I had not seen Cindy Jacobs since 2005 when she came to our church in England. I don't have a TV, so I had not been following her and to see that she actually really likes red shoes. But when I went to the thing, I was really, really surprised to see her. She was wearing red shoes and she was talking about some writing. So, yeah, that's how I've always interpreted. That's how I've taken my dreams, literally. So this dream of recession and joblessness of masses, this will be a time when a lot of people will not have jobs. I don't know what is to be interpreted about that, to be honest. I'm just going to read it as literally. I'm going to take it as literally as it is written. So there will be a recession in this case. There will be a lot of people who are jobless, a lot of people, masses, I wrote. And there will be a people who will be recalled, and they will be mainly Catholic. So Catholic, in this case, we can also interpret. We can say Catholics are Catholics by virtue of their religion, but also regard it as the meaning of the word Catholic is usually devoted or believer or something. Sorry, I've forgotten. I forgot to check that. Meaning of the word Catholic, let's see. Sorry about that, but meaning of the word Catholic. Meaning of the word Catholic. A solution or remedy for all difficulties or diseases. Catholicon. Catholicon. Where did they get that Catholicon bit? Catholic. Meaning of the word Catholic, not Catholicon. So Catholic apparently is an adjective meaning diverse, diversified, wide, including a wide variety of things, all embracing. Her tastes are pretty Catholic. So, wow, diverse, all embracing. Okay, what is the correct meaning of the word Catholic? A person who belongs to the universal Christian church. Universal Christian church. How about Roman Catholic? Roman Catholic, relating to or being a Christian church, having a hierarchy of priests and bishops under the Pope, a liturgy centered in the Mass or veneration of the Virgin Mary and saints, clerical celibacy, and a body of dogma, including transubstantiation and papal infallibility. I wasn't ready to read that stuff. So we can take Catholic literally. The Catholics in this case were given a uniform and an ID card. So those who transcribed to diversity of something, in this case and in this day and age, it will be the diversity of all religions are equal, are not equal. They are they lead to God. So Muslims, Jews, Arabs who are not Muslims or Jews, pagans, everybody will be subscribing to the same God, which will be the God of this world. And so those ones who subscribe to that, they will get an ID card. I'm telling you, this is, when I saw this thing, you know, sometimes you wonder why you carry boxes and boxes of papers from somewhere, from one, you move house and you move to another house and you're still carrying stuff. And this is attached to nothing. It was attached to nothing. So it was in a pile of different papers from everywhere. And I didn't, you know, I just saw it and I was like, which one is this? I've written it in a very, very bad handwriting. But it made sense to actually be able to see that the IDs were being issued. And I saw a road that was winding through mountains all the way to Russia. So it definitely means that this road will be the main highway to Russia from here, and it will encompass all Eastern European, and maybe if there was an Eastern European man standing with me, and he's the one who told me that the land to the north that shall be covered is a very large area, a very big piece of land. So Russia, beyond Russia, there's a lot of like China and all the stuff, okay? So then there was the people who were frying snakes for food. And I said the people who are actually frying the food were people who are dressed like the Taliban are today. So it's gonna be, even in the dream or even after the dream, I knew there were going to be like Muslims from the Middle East because I had already seen them. You know, I was an adult at this point. I was dreaming 27 March 2009. And then I followed some people who were in wedding dress and they were lesbians. So a lot going on in that dream, which means everybody will be allowed to do whatever they want to do. And in the Bible, sometimes it says, there's a, so not sometimes, so it says in the book of Judges, there was a time when Israel, everybody did whatever they wanted to do because there were no judges, there was no king. In those days, everybody did whatever they wanted to do. Now, let's look at a guy called Shimshon in Hebrew, or Samson. Judges chapter 16. I think most of us know about Samson, the guy who was the strongest man on the earth at the time that he lived in Israel, because God had given him an anointing that was very peculiar to him. His parents were, the mother was barren. They had not had children and they were older. And then his father's name, he was, the parents were from the tribe of Dan, and his father's name was Manoah. And the Bible says in Judges 13 that his wife was barren and childless. And then the angel of Adonai appeared to the woman and said to her, listen, you're barren, you have not had a child, but you will conceive and bear a son. Now, therefore, be careful not to drink any wine or other intoxicating liquor, and do not eat anything unclean. For indeed you conceive and bear a son, and no razor is to touch his head, because the child will be a Nazir. Like people usually say Nazarite, but it's not Nazarite like Jesus was a Nazarite, because he lived in Nazareth. This Nazir is like a dedicated child to a particular calling that God had for him, for God. So he will be a Nazir for God from the womb. Moreover, he will begin to rescue Israel from the power of the Philistine. The woman came and told her husband, and she said, "A man of God came to me. His face was fearsome, like that of the angel of God." How did she know the face of the angel of God is fearsome? Because majority of the people back those days used to see angels. They were used to seeing angels. I didn't ask him where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he said to me, "Listen, you will conceive and bear a son, so now don't drink any wine or other intoxicating liquor, and do not eat anything unclean, because the child will be a Nazir for God from the womb until the day he dies." Then Manoah prayed to Adonai, the father, because he didn't see the angel. Prayed, "Please, Adonai, let the man of God you sent come again to us and teach us what we should do for the child who will be born." God paid attention to what Manoah said, and the angel of God came again to the woman as she sat in the field, but her husband Manoah was not with him. Sorry, wasn't with her. The woman hurried and ran to tell her husband, "Here, that man, the one who came to me the other day, he's come again." Manoah got up, followed his wife, went to the man and said to him, "Are you the man who spoke to the woman?" He answered, "I am." Manoah said, "Now when what you have said comes true, what are the guidelines for raising the child? What should be done for him?" The angel of Adonai said to Manoah, "The woman should take care to do everything I say to her. She shouldn't eat anything that comes from a grapevine. She shouldn't drink wine or other intoxicating liquor, and she shouldn't eat anything unclean. She should do everything I ordered her to do." So Manoah said to the angel of Adonai, "Please stay with us a bit longer so that we can cook a young goat for you." This is interesting because he has known this guy is an angel, and then he's saying, "Let's cook a goat for you." And angels eating. "Even if I do stay, I won't eat your food. We've got manna and other stuff in heaven. Who needs goats? And if you prepare a burnt offering, you must offer it to Adonai." So Manoah did not know that he was the angel of Adonai. Manoah said to the angel of Adonai, "Tell us your name, so that when your words come true, we can honor you." The angel of Adonai answered him, "Why are you asking about my name? It is wonderful. Wonderful counselor, mighty God." As the flame, so Manoah took the kid and grain offering and offered them on the rock to Adonai, which means he already had a specific place from which he used to offer sacrifices, because back then they didn't really have a proper um, what did they have? So everybody would need to go to Jerusalem for the three mandatory feasts, to which every man would go to Jerusalem. But then if you don't live in Jerusalem, and these guys were not living in Jerusalem, then they needed to have somewhere where they can offer their own sacrifices unto the Lord. Then with Manoah, um, then, with Manoah and his wife looking on, the angel did something wonderful. As the flame went up toward the sky from the altar, the angel of Adonai went up in the flame from the altar. When Manoah and his wife saw it, they fell on the ground on their faces, but the angel of Adonai did not appear again to Manoah or his wife. Then Manoah realized it had been the angel of Adonai, and Manoah said to his wife, yeah, chap chap to speak, "We will surely die because we have seen God." But his wife said to him, "If Adonai had wanted to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted a burnt offering and a grain offering from us, and he wouldn't have shown us all this or told us such things at this time." Now you can understand why the angel had initially just gone to the wife. Even on the second day, he just went straight to the wife, because he knew Manoah was going to mess it up. The woman bore a son and called him Shimshon, Samson. The child grew, and Adonai blessed him, and the spirit of Adonai began to stir him when he was in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Now we're going to go to chapter 16, because that's what I want us to center on. Samson's later life issues with women, and where that led. So Samson, chapter 16, verse 1, Samson went to Azar, where he saw a prostitute, and he went in to spend the night with her. The people in Azar were told that Samson had come, so they surrounded the place. If they were told that Samson had come and they surrounded the place, it means that they already knew who Samson was, by virtue of he was the strongest man on the planet at that point. So they surrounded the place where he was and also set an ambush for him all night at the city gate. Their plan was to do nothing at night. Their plan was to do nothing at night. Is that a plan? Is that a plan, my brother, my sister, to do nothing? Your plan is to not do anything when your enemy, you have identified the enemies in your camp, and then at night you don't do nothing, surely? So they waited until morning, and they said they would wait until morning and then kill him. However, Samson stayed in bed until midnight. Then he got up, took hold of the doors of the city gate and the two posts as well. He pulled them up, bar and all, hoisted them on his shoulders and carried them up to the top of the hill overlooking Hebron. I can just imagine. I can just imagine. After this, he fell in love with a woman who lived in the Sorek Valley, whose name was Delilah. The chiefs of the Philistines went up to her and said, "Coax him into telling you where his great strength comes from and how we can overcome him, so that we can tie him up and subdue him. If you do, each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." You wonder why 1,100? Delilah said to Shimshon, "Please tell me what it is that makes you so strong and how someone could tie you up and subdue you." Samson replied, "If they tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have never been dried, I will become as weak as any other man." So the chiefs of the Philistines brought up to her 7 fresh bowstrings which had not been dried, and she tied him up with them. Now she had people lying in wait in the inside room. So she said to him, "Shimshon, the Philistines have come for you." But he snapped the bowstrings as easily as a piece of straw breaks when it touches fire, and the source of his strength remained unknown. Let's stop for a bit. 3 things. Samson knows the source of his strength. Delilah, whom he is in love with, does not. The Philistines, who are the enemies of Israel, do not know where the power of his strength comes from. Samson is at this stage, although he's in love with this woman, not keen to reveal the source of his strength. But the Bible says that Delilah said to Shimshon, "You're making fun of me, telling me lies. Now, come on, tell me what it takes to tie you up." You would wonder why a woman wants to know. If she loves you, why does she want to know? I would rather have a boyfriend that can whack everybody and lift the gates and throw them over the other side of the city. Don't you? If you are a woman and you're actually truly in love with a man, you'd be so secure in this man. You don't care where his strength comes from. And of course, she was not a truly beloved woman of Samson. She loved money more than she loved him. So Samson said, "All it takes is to tie me up with new ropes that haven't been used. Then I'll become weak and be like anyone else." So Delilah took new ropes, tied him up, and said to him, "Samson, the Philistines have come for you." The people lying in wait were in the inside room, but he broke the ropes from off his arms like a thread. Delilah said to Samson, "Till now you've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Tell me what it takes to tie you up." He said, if you weave the 7 locks of my hair across thread or a loom." So she fastened her cloth work in the loom with a pin and wove his hair in. Then she said to him, "Samson, the Philistines have come for you." He awoke from his sleep and pulled away the loom pin and the woven cloth. So he pulled the entire thing, whatever it was, with his, like he's just moving. You wonder he wasn't even feeling pain in his head. She said to him, "How can you say you love me when your heart isn't with me? 3 times you've made fun of me, and you haven't told me the source of your great strength." And this is where I want us to mark. So every day she kept nagging at him and pressing at him. We all know in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9, it says it's better for a man to go and live on the top of the house than live with a nagging woman. And that's what Samson should have done. He just left this woman alone. So every day she kept nagging at him and pressing him till it bothered him to death, so that he finally told her everything. Do you know, in Deuteronomy, Devarim 29, verse 29, it says, the things which are hidden belong to Adonai our God, but the things that have been revealed belong to us and our children forever, so that we can observe all the words of this Torah. So this was a secret. Samson's strength was a secret between his mother, father, the angel of God, God himself, and Samson. So the family and God. Nobody else was supposed to have known where the strength comes from, because it was a secret. For the reason why God had given him strength in his hair was so that he could start delivering Israel. That's what the parents were told. He will begin to deliver what? To deliver Israel. You know? And then he goes and reveals the thing. So, which means Samson decided, you know what? I'm actually so fed up with this woman nagging me. I'm just gonna quit delivering Israel because I love this woman. So I'm gonna tell her the truth, which is absolute. We should never do that. We should never forsake the first calling. That's why God in Ephesians, in Revelation, he talks about the church of the Ephesians, you forsook your first love. So when you love the Lord, the things he's told you to keep to yourself, you will keep to yourself. You will honor the Lord more than you honor your girlfriend, your lovely wife, or whoever nags you, or whoever does what. Like Joseph did when he was in Egypt. He refused to sleep with Potiphar's wife because he honored the Lord. But Samson didn't. So he told her, no razor has ever touched my head, because I have been a Nazir of God since I was born. If someone shaves me, then my strength will leave me, and I will be like any other man. When Delilah saw that he had really confided in her, she sent and summoned the chiefs of the Philistines with a message, come up this one last time, because he has finally told me the truth. The chiefs of the Philistines went up to her and brought the money with them. She had him go to sleep in her lap and called for a man to shave off his 7 locks of hair. Then she began tormenting him, but his strength had gone away. She said, Samson, the Philistines have come for you. He awoke from his sleep and said, I'll get out this time, just as I shook myself loose before. But he didn't know. This time he was the one who didn't know. Previously, it was the Philistines and everybody else who didn't know. Now it's his time to not know. He awoke from his sleep and said, I'll get out this time just as I shook myself loose before. But he didn't know that Adonai had left him. This is a really sad, sad, sad line. This is a very sad line, honestly. But he didn't know that Adonai had left him. So the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Azza, where he had carried the gate. There they bound him with 2 bronze chains and put him to work grinding grain at the mill in the prison. However, after the hair on his head had been cut off, it began growing back again. And the chiefs of the Philistines assembled to offer great sacrifice to their god Dagon. As they celebrated, they sang, our God has handed over to us our enemy Shimshon. Our God has handed over to us our enemy who destroyed our land and killed so many. And this is how Samson dies. So we all know how he died. It's that they actually tied him. So let's just finish verse 25. When they were in high spirits, they said, summon Shimshon to amuse us. So they called him out of prison and he amused them. When they put him between the columns, they had gouged his eyes as well. Shimshon said to the boy holding him by the hand, let me feel the columns supporting the building so that I can lean on them. So the boy led him to the 2 columns that were the main columns supporting the building. And the building was full of men and women, and all the chiefs of the Philistines were there. In addition to them, there were about 3,000 men and women on the roof watching as Shimshon performed. Shimshon called to Adonai, Adonai Elohim, just this once, please think of me and please give me strength so that I can take revenge on the Philistine for at least one of my two eyes. Woohoo. Shimshon got a good hold on the two middle columns supporting the building and leaned on them, and on one with his right hand and on the other with his left. Then crying, let me die with the Philistine, he pushed with all his might, and the building collapsed on the chiefs and all the people inside. So he killed more at his death than he had killed during his life. His brother and all his father's family came down, took him, brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of his father Manoah. And Shimshon had judged Israel 20 years. My question is, why did he want to die with the Philistine? He could have lived if he wanted, he could have lived. He didn't want to live maybe blindly, or maybe he had been too traumatized by the Philistine, or he was afraid he'll fall. Because now he can't even see a beautiful woman like Delilah and the prostitute that he had been using before. And he probably was just tired of being a Nazarene. So he actually decided to just die with the sinners, you know. So what I had written as notes were that when the people of Asa woke up, they found their city gate, 2 posts, the bars and all gone. Like, if it's your house and you know the enemy is in your house, please do not give him 10 minutes to sort himself out. Just get him out immediately. I remember once I left work and came back from the office. I was living in Kenya back then, and I came to my house and I could feel the presence of Satan in my house, or demons, or whatever demon was in my house was, yeah. And I remember saying, Satan, I know you're in my house. I could just feel him, or whoever was in my house. It was a very, very tangible, spiritually tangible presence that was not welcome in my house. So I spoke up. I said, I know you're in my house, and I'm going to cook for my. I don't know if I said like get out of my house, or I said, and I'm going to kick you out of my house. I'm going to cook for my children. If you're still here, then I will deal with you then. So I cooked, and while I was cooking, I was just praying in tongues, worshiping the Lord, la 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 la, and then I went into spiritual warfare, cleared the nonsense that was in my house. Yeah. So I should not probably have given him time. I should have just kicked him out immediately, to be honest, because I don't know what other damages he was doing while I was cooking. Although I was worshiping, I was getting myself ready for this case. So I think these people had said, let's just wait until morning so that we can parade him, like we've captured him, parade him across the nation and show everybody that we have actually captured him. No, just deal with him immediately. Although there are some battles we're not supposed to just go without any strategy or anything. So I don't know whether that day when I said to the devil, I know you're in my house, but I'm going to kick you out if you've not left by the time I finish cooking. I don't know if it was a strategy from the Lord, because I had never felt it before, and I don't think I've ever felt it since. But there are times when I see demons and stuff around my house sometimes, and just kick them out. Tongues usually does the trick. So every day she nagged him. Judges chapter 16, verse 16. Every day she nagged him, pressing him till it bothered him to death. So he finally told her everything. So Christians, we know that the enemy can actually cause an accident. The day after you've been probably taken ill into hospital, your wife or your brother or your husband or whoever is driving to come and see you in the hospital, and he has an accident. And then you hear that somebody's, I don't know, maybe your closest friend or your prayer partner or your mom or your dad or somebody else has had a problem. And you go to the office and the boss doesn't even want to listen to what you have to say, because apparently it was your fault that you went and contracted corona in church settings. You should never have gone to church, blah, 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 blah. All sorts of issues. Like you look around and think, And sometimes something happens and you're not paid for that month, or you're paid half pay because you've been sick for more than or the allowed allowance. So they reduce the pay to 50% or something like that. Things just go wrong, going wrong. Like there was that time that I'm telling you, I found the devil. I knew the devil was in my house, whether it was him or one of his boys, I don't know. But that time there was so many different issues going on in my life. So many. I had a job that was good. I had a loan that was bad. I had children, that was good. I had just separated from their dad, that was bad. I was a new believer, that was good, and also bad in a way that you sometimes you get into trouble because you're a new believer and you have the passion and the fire, and sometimes you don't know how to balance things, you don't know what you're fighting, you don't know how to fight it, all the stuff, you go collecting stuff. The first thing I went after I gave my life to the Lord was actually go to the library and find out about Sikhism, Islam, all the isms. And I don't know what demons I carried from reading all those materials. But I used to read the Bible as well a lot to sort of cleanse my soul. So why I'm centering on Judges 16 verse 16 is because that's what the nations are trying to do to Israel, and that's what they've always tried to do. Like they attack from the north and the south and the east and whatever. Everybody wants to attack Israel. Why? Because they want to wear her out. And the reason why they think they can achieve is because there's an insider. The Arab people don't want uh, Palestinians to leave Palestine, to leave Israel. They don't want, because if they leave, then they won't be able to be attacking them from outside for nothing. Okay, so they need also foxes, little foxes inside the towns of Israel everywhere. You know, they have Arabs who have Israeli passports, and then they're the ones from Jannah who are running away from prison, and then they're the ones from Ramallah and everywhere, you know, and Hebron. They have an entire land strip, which the Western world call the West Bank. So when you have an insider, that is your Delilah. Believe me, you should. It's like Israel as a it's like an obligation. She has to treat them different from like Iran. They would treat Iran. If the Palestinians were Iranians, I'm telling you, and Israel was at that proximity with the Iranians, they would have bombed them flat out. They would not have been joking around with these people because they know they are really, really serious about destroying them. The reason why Israel does not destroy Palestine, or there's no Palestine, correction, there's no Palestine, there's no nation called Palestine in this world. There are not a single people in this world called Palestinians or Palestinians. There are people called Arabs who migrated from somewhere else and came and took a stance in Israel, and it became home for them. That's fine. It's not like the Greeks who left Cyprus and they left Greece and went to Israel. And while they lived there and they might have passports, they are originally Greeks, you know, and that's what people call them. So these Arabs who live in Israel should just be called Arabs. If they were Lebanese, if they were Jordanian, whatever they were, let them be called by wherever they came from. Like all the Russians in Israel, they are called Russians. All the Kenyans in Israel are called Kenyans, you know? Everybody who has come from somewhere else to Israel should be called by that name. I don't know why there's an exception of these people who are apparently the landowners in Israel, and people are passionate about it. They fight, they speak, they write poetry, they write books, they write stuff, and they're, you know, they're like passionately violently angry that actually there's a people who are oppressed and there's apartheid system in Israel, and the Jewish people are horrible human beings and their God is exceptionally horrible for lying to the Jewish people that is their land. Let's bring Samson to the picture. So when you're wearied out by the people. So Israel will be wearied out by Russia coming in to through Syria, the other person coming in through the other person, and the other person. The Chinese want to have a harbor um, um, dedicated to their work in Tel Aviv, I think, or Jaffa area. The Americans are saying, no, we don't want them that close because they are our enemies. But you know what? The Bible is very clear. One day, Israel will be surrounded, and she won't just be surrounded from like extreme corners of the earth, like Egypt on the south, Jordan to the east, someone else, somewhere else, somewhere else, somewhere else. There will be people marching into the country, hordes and armies coming by plane, by water from the Mediterranean, by land from underground, like the Arabs digging holes and tunnels everywhere. So she will be definitely surrounded. So when she's surrounded like that, what will they be trying to do? They will be trying to do what happened to Samson, which is weary them out. And that's what Christians should look out for in their individual lives. Otherwise, it's going to get tougher when governments or the one world order government, its legislation will wear you out. And if you give up, if you do what Samson did, be sure you'll be led into this territory, which is mark of the beast on the forehead or the hand or wherever you will get it. And that's your life gone forever, because God has already said, if you take the mark, that's it. You don't belong to him, and there's no returning. At least Samson had one time when the Lord said, okay, I'll hear you and I'm giving you the strength. That was, back then, the Lord would not sit inside the people, the Jewish people. The Lord used to be like on an external scenario where he's known by them, they've seen him face to face, all that stuff. So it was kind of a face to face. These days it's faith, and then he comes and resides in your heart. That's what John chapter 14, verse 23 says. He, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit come and live inside your heart. So when you kick him out because you're hungry and you want McDonald's and you're not used to not having what you want, you're spoiled. You spoiled brat. That could be me or you who is listening now or who will be listening tomorrow. We want this and we want it now. I have to have sex. I have to have food. I have to have school fees for my kids. They have to go to a good school. And God is saying, take your child to the primary school next door, but you want them to go to whatever school because that's where all your friends' kids go. And God is telling you, do not take them there because you will need the passport. It won't be a green passport like they're saying passports for Israeli or any other nation, English, Britain, green passport for COVID-19 vaccination. No, it won't be. You'll have swallowed it into your system, and then one day it's gonna start eating you up because it is cast of the Lord. Verse 25, when they were in high spirits, they'd call for Samson to play sport for them. Let me tell you something, my brothers and sisters. The devil is not a joke. Neither will the Antichrist be a joke when he starts ruling on the earth for good, like for real. He is now engineering a few things, or several things, not a few. But when the Lord releases him from wherever he's bound up, like the Lord is restraining him still, like he would restrain all these people. And that's why Samson was able to pick up their gates and everything and go with it, because the Lord had put a restraining order on them. The Lord will then have no legal right anymore because his word has to be fulfilled in Revelations. So the Lord will say, okay, time up now to release this guy, and the restraint is removed, and he will say, hello, wow, I am so and so, and I'm the genius that's come to solve all your problems. How about that? Let's work together. And everyone will run and start working together with him. And then when you refuse to sign up for something, he will tell you then it's either that or death, and you will have to choose prison, death, and all sorts of other things. And of course, if your spirit is weakened because you kind of love certain things, you have attachments to Delilah, then you will take the mark of the beast. And when you take the mark of the beast, because you used to be a Christian, a strong one as well. When they are in high spirits, they'll be calling for you to come and play sport for them. There will also be a time when they will be singing that our God has handed over so and so to us, our enemy who destroyed our land and killed so many of us. Guess who these people are, this person is, or this mantle, or this end time force will be. This end time force will be you and I who say no to the rubbish. You can keep your water, you can keep your school fees, you can keep whatever, even the food. I don't mind if I die of hunger because I'm going to go to Jesus. Moses and Elijah, when they come into the earth, after they've terrorized everybody and killed so many of them, as it says in Judges 16, verse 24, then the Lord will release the enemy to actually kill them. So they will be left dead, lying on the streets of Jerusalem, and the nations will be quoting this Judges chapter 16, verse 24. Our God, which God? The Antichrist. Our God has handed over to us our enemy who destroyed our land and killed so many of us. Because Moses and Elijah will be calling fire from heaven, no rain. I don't know what other troubles. Maybe they'll just be pointing to a building like Twin Towers, you know. They don't need planes to do anything. So my question to you today is, have you any idea how heavy your 7 locks of hair is? Because 2 years ago, in 2019, I cut my hair short. It was really, really short. You couldn't even like pick it up and do something with it. It was really short. So as it grows, it becomes a bit heavy, you know. So now I know I have longer hair than I did 2 years ago. It's also longer than it was last year. It was, I think, this long. So it's grown longer, which means I can feel its weight. Now I know my hair is long. So for Samson, who had 7 locks of hair, like massive, you know, Absalom, the son of David, was told he had the best hair in the land. It was so heavy, heavier than anybody else's. It used to be weighed up, I don't know, twice every year or every year. I mean, that guy was spotless. So it was so heavy, he had to cut it more often because it was heavy. I'm wondering, why didn't Samson know how heavy his hair was? So when he woke up without hair, or that morning he was, or that day that he was lying on Delilah's lap, maybe she had always refused to allow him to lie on his lap, on her lap. You know, I always want to put my head on your lap. And she's like, no, until you tell me the truth. So yeah, today, if you tell me the truth, I'm gonna allow you to lie on my lap. Yeah, bastard. Delilah, I'm saying. Difficult. The word bastard means difficult, and it also means illegitimate. But I meant the bastard, the difficult part. So Samson wakes up and says he will shake yourself loose like other times. I'm asking you, if you don't know how heavy the anointing of God is upon you, you know, the kabod presence of God, the weightiness. When it was on the priests in Jerusalem, when Solomon was dedicating the temple, they couldn't even stand. Here is Samson waking up from this woman's lappy and thinking he's still the same guy, but he wasn't. The reason why he didn't know, he wasn't aware that his hair had been cut, was because he was used to the thing. He just thought it's gonna be always there. It can't do anything. Like he thought the hair actually is what contained the glory of God. While he didn't know the glory of God was resting on his head or his life with a demonstration of his hair. You know, the Bible is very clear how God's hair looks like white, silver, white, lots of white hair and a beard and whatever. And most people always say that if you have white hair, it means wisdom. I don't know about that. There's some really stupid people who have great white hair. They don't have any wisdom. But God's hair is because he's ancient. He's been there forever and he's the source of wisdom. So obviously wisdom is a part of him. It's not because of the hair. Yeah. So this external thing where you've put your God, maybe on a talit or on the, all the things that they wear to pray. The glory of God is not here. If I don't read this book will not open itself up and start reading itself and start proclaiming those promises of God in this book to me. So I have to action whatever the Lord calls me into. Okay. So Samson was called to carry those 7 locks of hair as a result of, and I don't even know how that was working, because dedicated to God, but he can still go and sleep with a prostitute. That's a different story. I don't even want to get into. But those days he would probably go and sleep with a prostitute, and then after like on Yom Kippur, he would go and and apologize for all of his sins from the previous year. Who knows? So, will you shake yourself loose this time like you've always done before, or is the glory through which you did ABC gone? Has God's presence lifted because you did not keep Deuteronomy 29:29, which is the secret things of the Lord are his, but also they're revealed to those who seek them out. The secrets of God are for him and his children, and only his children have exclusive rights to these secrets. So, for instance, if we take the CIA or the MI5 in England, the CID, the Mossad of Israel, for instance, and all the KGB of Russia and everywhere else, their secrets are their secrets. They are not shared with the regular soldiers on the streets. They are not even shared with some of the political rulers of the nation. They are not shared with some of the army generals. Why? Because they don't need to know, because some of them are actually their enemies in regular hometown uniform. So the secrets of God belong to God and his children, and they are revealed to us for a reason. And that's for a reason. And that's why I can't remember what proverbs it is, but it's a proverb that says it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it is the word of a king to seek to understand it. Today I'm really struggling with this. I didn't prepare properly. This is the glory of God. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. King James Version 25 verse 2. So it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. So you will be a king if you search it out. In this case, it was Delilah who was behaving as a king, and she searched it out on behalf of the Palestinian princes, the leaders of the nation of Philistine people. They gave her money from the royal treasury because it was important for their national security for Delilah to reveal for Samson to reveal where the source of his strength was. But you see, they have all been killed actually. We read that when he held on to those 2 pillars, he brought down all of the Philistine leaders and 3,000 men and women and children and all the others that were killed. I hope Delilah was in the crowd as well. But even if she wasn't, well, she was left to spend money that she took from Samson's head. So I hope and pray that the Lord will use this message to be able to bless you, to provoke thought in your mind as to what he's doing in your life, what he's planted inside of you or in your physical body, because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And we can use our bodies wrongly. We can have experiences like, you feel the presence of God on your physical body where you cannot stand in his presence because it's that mighty. But if you get used to those experiences of having, like, I feel goosebumps, I feel bumps, I don't know, like people always say, I feel the presence of the Lord, and I'm wondering, Shouldn't we always feel the presence of the Lord? Because he's always with us, isn't he? So if the Lord has actually come and made abode in you, how can you not always feel him? It's just a question. I'm not asking because I always feel him, but I don't say that I'm feeling him because there are times when I get so excited and I'm expectant and we are communicating face to face with the Lord and all that time. But I don't like that saying of I feel the Lord and I've got goosebumps and people just standing on chairs. I had to leave one church that I used to go to in London because it was like a nursery school. People would stand on chairs because the pastor has said he can feel the presence of the Lord in this house today. I'm thinking, before he said that, where were you? You're supposed to be carrying the presence of God yourself. So how come until he says he feels the presence of God and makes us swirl around and shout in the microphone something like, yeah, say yay. That's when you... Sometimes I just like normal quiet churches. Let everybody feel the presence of God wherever they are. If they're not feeling him, then just preach the gospel. The Lord will will impact them at his own time and in his own way. Because seriously, when you go to a service and every 1.5 minutes someone is shooting up to scream about something, I've done those things. I've done those things in a meeting when like when someone when I fast the first miracle I saw of a person being healed, Yara, I cried. I was standing on my feet just crying because I had never seen a miracle before, like like that, like someone who came in with lame or whatever getting healed. I had never seen. And there was a lot of noise in the church that day, and I was part of that crowd making noise. But when the Lord is going to open doors for us to, that house you're trusting God for, that thing you're trusting God for. Yeah. You should already be excited from home. Not become excited and you're supposed to be sitting in front of me and you're like 6 foot tall. And then when you climb on the chair, I can't even see even between your legs, like through your legs. It's so amazing. It just becomes like a stadium where people are just screaming because the goalie is almost diving the wrong side when like, oh Jesus. Anyway, let me stop. But I had to leave that church. I used to go and I would just like be sitting there persevering. Oh God, why do they do this all the time? Why? Like you'd go once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and you think, okay, maybe it's because it's the season for everybody to get blessed. But please, the feeling of the pastor has nothing to do with you jumping all over the place. So there are people who do see God, like Jesus has come and stood next to me in the pulpit. Not me. Yeah. There are some pastors who would say Jesus has just come and stood next to me. Or some who don't say it immediately. They see him, they continue preaching, and then they say, Jesus has been with us this whole time. People will already have noticed by themselves. You'll start hearing screaming and deliverance on the corner there and someone else falling down, and it will just happen automatically. You will know when the Lord has stepped into the house. You will know, like physically, but also spiritually. He's always with us. So let's not have this, we are carrying the weight of the hair, but we don't actually notice when the hair is gone. Because we are supposed to be carriers of the holy presence of God. And that's how I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it there. May the Lord bless you, and may he keep you and keep his presence within you. Please allow him to keep his presence within you so that when others are getting blessed, he does not pass you by. Shalom. Have a wonderful week. I love you so much. Oh, I just remembered that it's so 10 days from Rosh Hashanah is Yom Kippur. So the feast of, not the feasts, Jesus. What's it called in English? The day of the day of repentance. Let me put it that way because I can't remember what it's called in English. And I'll be boxing myself later when I actually remember what it's called. So that is the day when the high priest would enter into the Holy of Holies to submit all the sins of the nation, and then they would have their names inscribed in the book of life, not the Lamb's book of life, in the book of life. At that point, it was going into Abraham's bosom when you died, and until the following year. So Yom Kippur is coming on the 15th. Is it 15th or 17th? It's the 5th. Jesus, I've really forgotten. I'm so confused. Sorry, I'm not confused today, but I'm like when I use the two calendars consecutively, it just makes my understanding cuckoos a bit. 15th, yeah, on the evening of the 15th, because on the evening of the 16th is when we crossed into the new year, Rosh Hashanah. So evening of the 15th, so which means the whole of the 16th will be the Yom Kippur. So God bless you. I pray and I trust and pray that the Lord will continue to manifest his glorious presence in you so that you can go and lift bars, not after you've been in a harlot's house. I hope you're going to uproot things just while you're in the work of the Lord. Because the grace those days is no longer the grace we have today. This is like Jesus says, clean, be holy as I am holy. So no physical contact with people who you're not supposed to be around. Because with COVID, they are contagious. They'll lead to your death. So avoid prostitution and avoid lies, gossip, and all this stuff, so that God can keep his presence within you, so that when you wake up from wherever, even if the devil comes and knocks on your door in the middle of the night, you will wake up knowing that the Lord is still with you, because when you went to bed, you actually went to bed you went to the right bed, and you slept the right way you should be sleeping, and no foreign gods in your life, and you surrendered your heart. At night before I sleep, my soul he keeps. You'll have surrendered your body and soul and spirit to the Lord to keep until the morning. So have a lovely week. God bless you. I love you.